GSTC, Luigi, Cabrini, CEO, Ronald, and Senior Government Officers here present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my remarks are just very few, but before I do my remarks, I'd like to introduce the head table here. Let me first and foremost recognize the presence of His Excellency, the 4th President of the Republic of Botswana, Lieutenant General Dr. Seretse Khama, Your Excellency. I also have the pleasure and honor to introduce Chairperson GSTC, Mr. Luigi Cabrini. Sir. Mr. Cabrini has his CEO, Mr. Luigi, the CEO. I also have the pleasure to introduce the CEO from GO, Mayor Blackbeard. Without much ado, colleagues, I recognize the presence of all senior government officials here, all the presenters, the academia, and everybody else. Let me say, welcome to the tourism hub of this country. Please enjoy your day. Let's go and discuss so that with your discussions, recommendations will take this country forward. Without much ado, welcome to Maryland, and I wish you a 3-day of good presentation. Welcome again. Please stay, eat, get calm, and enjoy your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the District Commissioner for Ngamiland, Mr. Cabrini. He always says I'm the only one who pronounces his name properly. And at this juncture, I would like to call upon Chairman for Global Sustainable Tourism Council, Mr. Luigi Cabrini. Can we please give him a round of applause as he walks to the podium?
His Excellency, the 4th President of the Republic of Botswana, Lieutenant General Dr. Seretse Khama, Khama, I hope I pronounced well your name, sir. Representatives of the Botswana Tourist Organization, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. After Washington in the USA, Barcelona in Spain, Quito in Ecuador, Bonito in Brazil, Wanshan in China, Suwon in South Korea, and Koyei in Chile, we meet today in Maun, Botswana, the heart of Africa, to hold the GSTC Global Conference 2018. Thank you to our host, and a warm welcome to all of you. Listening to the names of places from many countries make our imagination fly and inspire us to travel, to get to know people around the world, to visit natural and cultural wonders, to taste exotic food, to experience and appreciate how enriching is diversity. 2018 will close with almost 1.4 billion international tourists, and 1.8 billion are expected in 2030. In addition to some 5 billion domestic tourists. Travel and tourism, together with communications, are one of the most amazing features of our era, a cause and at the same time a consequence of globalization. New segments of populations from emerging economies cross a border for the first time to spend their holidays. And people in developed countries travel more often, thanks to decreasing cost of transport and the possibility to reach almost every corner of the planet. But this planet, the only one we have, is as it is today. 60% of animal population has disappeared since 1970, according to a recent report from WWF. 6 out of 10 mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles have been wiped out by humanity in less than 50 years, leading the world's foremost experts to warn that annihilation of wildlife is now an emergency that threatens civilization. Climate change is already producing catastrophic effects worldwide and represents a major threat to many regions and people. Unless we change dramatically our production and consumption patterns and the way how government, industries, and societies function, climate change will be irreversible. The world is on track for around 3 degrees of warming by the end of the century if it doesn't take major reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Just imagine that with 2 degrees warming, coral reef will almost entirely disappear. The oceans are polluted by billions of plastic objects, causing the death of 100,000 marine creatures and 1 billion seabirds every year. Microplastics are already into the food chain, and their impact on humans is bound to increase dramatically. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on describing how our irresponsible behavior is a threat to the world and to us. But it is not my intention to be too pessimistic nor to depress you. The point I want to make is the following. Is tourism part of the problem, or can it contribute to the solutions? The United Nations has progressively recognized the potential of tourism, if properly managed, as a sector that can contribute to sustainable development. For many developing countries, tourism is often the main option to alleviate poverty, to create employment for women and youth, to provide services in remote areas. Here in Botswana, tourism generated directly and indirectly in 2017 11% of the GDP and 7% of the national employment. Botswana graduated from the group of least developed countries in 1994, also thanks to the contribution of tourism. Africa as a whole is a continent with a huge potential for tourism, that received 62 million of international visitors in 2017, close to 5% of the global flows. The share of tourism in Africa can definitely increase, and it can be done building on lessons learned from regions where a too rapid and badly managed growth has provoked undesirable negative effects. Tourism can contribute to all of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and it has been included as a target in 3 of them, namely inclusive and sustainable economic growth, sustainable consumption and production, and sustainable use of oceans and marine resources. The World Bank and many regional development banks now include tourist projects in their loans and grants. The 2017 International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development catalyzed the actions of many actors in the sector. I was pleased to see recently, in the front door of a lodge in a small historical village in Portugal, Monsanto, some of the participants were there as well, a plaque certifying their sponsorship to the International Year, an indication that its impact went beyond the deliberations of diplomatic delegations in New York. But tourism is and remains an economic activity, and small and big entrepreneurs have to make a profit from their businesses. Several studies and researchers demonstrated that sustainable tourism generates higher economic benefit than a business-as-usual approach, thanks to savings generated by better management of resources, to an healthier and more productive working environment deriving from a shared vision between the management and the staff, to an enhanced market access driven by 2 main factors. One, a higher consciousness of the tourist as a responsible citizen, who rewards efforts to save energy and water, initiatives for protection of biodiversity, respect of local cultures, etc. These tourists make choices based on his or her ethical principles and is ready to spend more when an hotel or a destination show that it cares for their shared values. 2. Sustainable tourism is likely to offer better quality products by being more experiential and emotionally engaging. We know, however, that sustainability is far from integrated in the old tourist chain, and that good practice are still the exception rather than the rule. Over-tourism is a major problem today, and many voices are calling for a stop to tourist growth. A system to measure in a comparable way the amount of greenhouse gas emissions produced by transport and accommodation is missing, frustrating efforts to lead the tourist sector toward concrete mitigation targets. Small and medium companies often do not have easy access to innovations and training that could improve their management. In most markets of goods and services, including tourism, the prices do not reflect the full cost of such as pollution or water and land usage. These are just few of the challenges ahead for a more sustainable tourist sector. Dear friends, what is then the answer to the initial question? It is clear that tourists contribute both to the problem and to the solutions. We therefore can and must strive to shift the balance toward the positive benefits that tourists can create. The way the GSTC criteria are phrased maximize benefits for local communities, cultural heritage and the environment, and minimize negative impact, indicates that there is no final result, but a continuous process of knowledge, training and improvement. 10 years ago, the first set of criteria for hotels and tour operators was released, followed by criteria for destination and the industry. We should be proud of the positive influence the criteria have had so far on many relevant tourist stakeholders. Large private companies, national and local governments, destinations, international organizations, certification bodies are among our members today. Their trust and support to the GSTC agenda give us strength and motivation to continue our mission. Last December, the One Planet Network, a UN-led initiative where GSTC has an active role, met here in Botswana and adopted the Kasan call to action, a roadmap that provides guidance to stakeholders on how development and management of tourism can be improved. A year later, we're meeting with the same purpose: leverage the potential of tourism as a tool for positive change. I'm sure that with your active participation, this event can make a relevant contribution. I wish you an engaging conference and a memorable stay in Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luigi Cabrini, the chairman for GSTC. Can we please give a round of applause for those thoughtful words? I would like to invite the former President of the Republic of Botswana, Lieutenant General Dr. Seretse Khama, Khama, to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, we all rise.
Let me start by recognizing the Chairman of the GSTC, Mr. Cabrini, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Durant, the Executive Managing Director and BTO, my Blackbeard, Molaudi, District Commissioner, Mr. Haurekwe, and to all distinguished ladies and gentlemen here. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Today marks, as you're aware, the official opening of the Global Sustainability Conference, which is co-hosted on this occasion by the Botswana Tourism Organization and the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, GSTC. I believe you have opted for a very appropriate place to host this event because here in Maun, we view it as the gateway. It is in fact the gateway to the Okavango Delta, which is home to one of the world's richest biodiversity. So I'm honored to be amongst you today to open this event, which will deliberate on very important tourism sustainability issues. The issue of sustainability is also very close to my heart. A few years ago, Conservation International partnered with the Botswana government to come up with the Cabrini Declaration for Sustainability in Africa, which was initially attended by 12 countries and has since then expanded. This year, Conservation International appointed me as their Distinguished Fellow for the African continent to encourage countries in Africa to include in their national development programs, programs that should be aligned to sustainability of biodiversity and ecosystems through natural capital accounting. As a global initiative dedicated to promoting sustainable tourism practices around the world, you have indeed provided guidance in terms of utilization of resources for tourism practices. The world, many parts of the world are endowed with great wildlife, wilderness, and cultural resources that are the basis for tourist arrivals. But for these resources to be of benefit now and into the future, sustainability should underpin their utilization. Whilst wildlife and wilderness-based tourism has sustained the tourism offering globally, much cannot be said about other forms of tourism in certain destinations. This phenomenon then leads to imminent pressure that may be exerted on the very resources and biodiversity which form the backbone of the tourism industry. The need, therefore, for a relationship between host communities and the tourist offering needs close attention. It is therefore pleasing to note that this forms part of your priority areas. The United Nations World Tourism Organization, in its tourism ethics, also emphasizes the importance of ensuring that tourism, or what is derived from tourism, does not ignore other national interests. Where tourism may not be providing instant bread and butter solutions, then other sectors must be called on to do so. I therefore challenge you to give careful attention to ensuring a balance that is established between sectors of the economy if we are to have communities embracing and benefiting from tourism. Attitudes towards tourism could become negative over time as tourism development increases if host communities perceive such developments as not beneficial to them. This could result in product defacing, animosity towards visitors, and general resistance to tourism advancements. In view of the foregoing, therefore, there's need to develop policies and frameworks that will ensure that tourism development benefits both the entrepreneur, the nation, and, of course, communities. An increase in tourism always carries the risk of harming the very attribute that attracts visitors in the first place, as well as putting pressure on local infrastructure like roads, airports, water supplies, and public services. This would then lead to a perception by communities that the inconvenience from tourism outweighs its benefits, eventually leading to conflict, particularly with conservationists. Proper planning is therefore very important at early stages of tourism development. Environment management plans preceding every development should pay close attention to conflicting national resource use. Therefore, I implore you to carefully look at means through which services of environmentalists can be made more easily accessible for such developments. This will go a long way in ensuring well-coordinated environmental considerations in developments across the board. A number of global bodies have been giving attention to sustainability. This points to the importance of this tourism development strategy. The list of 17 Sustainable Development Goals should remain our guiding principle in tourism development. A number of countries are signatories to several international conventions that subscribe to biodiversity management. We note, however, that this does not translate into deliberate action by some nations. Expeditious development of national action plans and strategies that mainstream these activities in national development plans and programs should therefore be encouraged in order to meet these international obligations. Botswana adopted the Sustainable Development Goals that will guide the development process for the next 15 years as part of implementing national development plans. The SDGs cover a wide spectrum of dimensions such as poverty alleviation, gender equality, energy, water economy, income inequality, climate change, and governance. As a member of GSTC, Botswana will then be able to plan towards sustainable tourism development aligned to these SDGs. I finally call upon the business sector to also proactively lead in ensuring that we all work towards one common goal. Collaboration amongst all sectors of an economy, from scholars, researchers, business communities, travelers, and governments, is the key to a robust and well-molded plan of action on sustainable tourism. I'm happy to note that this session of the GSTC will touch on a number of areas that should drive tourism development and beneficiation, covering sustainable destinations, management, sustainable tourism certification linking, SDGs, and the GSTC criteria, as well as market access for responsible tourism businesses. This is a well-thought-out program, the success of which will progress a sustainable tourism agenda. With those remarks, it is now my pleasure to declare this Global Sustainability Conference officially opened, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Botswana, Lieutenant General Dr. Seretse, Khama and Khama. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we will be preparing for the group photo before we continue with the remaining part of the proceedings. Floyd, would you kindly...
Everyone just stay in place. Everyone please stay seated. We will take a photo from here of everyone in the crowd.
We will kindly request our VIP table to come and stand here, and we will request that everyone remains seated for the group photo. I think we just smile.
Where do you want to go? Yes.
Standing. Facing that direction.
Yeah, maybe.
Can we take the table?